Ledbetter here again with another edition of Judgement Calls. And today we're going to be talking some hockey, as there's going to be a new team coming to the province. And I'm being joined by Mark Weightman, well known to the sports scene here in Montreal, between the Alouettes and the Laval Rocket, but now newly minted as the president and CEO of the future Trois Rivieres ECHL Hockey Club that will start playing next fall, 2021. Mark, welcome, and I thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for that introduction, and thanks for having me. It was always a pleasure to chat with you.
Well, this is something now, Trois Rivieres has a big hockey history, and now it's going to be even bigger with an ECHL team coming. Now, for our fans that don't understand that, that would be like a second level pro franchise team. It'll be affiliated with some NHL club as part of their farm system, and those players would be just, say, a step below the AHL. So, Mark, can you tell me how you got involved and about the nucleus you guys have right now to get things organized? Because you've got some good names. Marc-Andre Bergeron is vice president and GM. Hugo Bernier is director of corporate partnerships. What can you tell me about Trois Rivieres? No name yet.
Well, let me start with just adding to your description of what the league is, because, you know, it's a good place to start because the ECHL is really not that well known in Canada, or especially in Quebec. There's never been a franchise in Quebec. There's only two other teams in Canada right now, in Brampton and in Newfoundland. So it's one of the three professional hockey leagues in North America. And sometimes using a baseball analogy is the best way to compare it. If the AHL is AAA hockey, then the ECHL is AA hockey. And in both cases, professional leagues, but one that leads to a progression to the next, or ideally for any player who wants to work his way up to the NHL. So we're going to have, one of the very first things we're going to have to do is educate fans in Quebec about the ECHL and how that league has evolved a lot over the last, even the last 10 years in particular, how now there's 25, soon to be 26, and will be the 27th team to be affiliated with an NHL franchise. And I predict actually within the next 5 years, it'll be 32, 32, 32 from NHL all the way down to ECHL, as every club in the NHL is putting a lot of effort into their development efforts and creating these alliances. So you talked about the three of us that were announced yesterday. I'm very, very pleased and very proud to be going into this new adventure with these two guys. Marc-Andre Bergeron, you know, NHL player, played over 500 games in the NHL, and most well known for being the guy on the point with the big slap shot, and a lot of experience in hockey. He's a hometown guy, yeah. So he's born and raised in Trois Rivieres. So this is an ideal scenario for him, and somebody who has a ton of passion, a ton of dedication, and knows his hockey obviously, and just can't wait to get going. So he will be our vice president of hockey operations and general manager. So that is great. And Hugo Bernier is someone who's been working with the Canadiens and Rocket over the last 3 years. A very bright young guy who's done a lot of great things in corporate partnerships, especially in 2020. And the evolution of corporate partnerships in sports is something that is growing and evolving at light speed. And I consider him one of the very best. And we did a lot of good work together at the Rocket, as a matter of fact, as he handled most of the sponsorship needs for the Rocket. And so was thrilled when he put his hand up, so to speak, and wanted to join the group. So we've got 11 months to go before puck drop. We now, of course, have been working for many months now. I've been working on this since March. And so it's been 8 months already that we've been, and Marc-Andre even longer than that, laying the groundwork for the lease with the city, getting the Colisée, the new Colisée ready. A lot of people understand it. Yeah, the new Colisée. It also needs a new name because we're going to be looking for a naming rights partner. So we'll see what the name of that building will be down the road. But right now it's called the New Colisée. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful building, state-of-the-art, 5,000 seats. Basically the same way that we talked about Place Bell being, just like a Bell Center, but with 10,000 seats. Well, you could say the same about this as far as the amenities and the suites and the video board and the power ring and all that, but with 5,000 capacity, with also a second rink for practice rink and community activities. So we've been doing a lot of work on that already. Now all the things are starting to come together to be able to make announcements. But over the next 11 months, we have to do everything from hiring coaches and getting players and hiring staff to selling tickets and partnerships and getting naming rights for the building and finding a name and a logo for our club. So a lot of things to do in the next 11 months.
And the franchise is going to be awarded to Deacon Sports and Entertainment, and a very reputable group, very well-known group that is dipping their toe into the province here for this team.
Absolutely.
Is this going to be a roll up your sleeves and let's get to it now with the 11 months with so much to do?
Well, you can't tell on camera right now, but my sleeves are already rolled up and they have been for several months. But yes, that's a good way to put it. A lot of things now are going to be able to move a lot quicker since we've made these announcements and we're not just working behind the scenes. So absolutely, it's going to be a sprint. Anybody who's been around a pro sports franchise knows how much work goes into planning a season and how when you go into a season, you've been planning for the last 6 to 8 months or year even. And that's when you're already up and running. We're not up, our offices aren't built yet. The building is not completed yet. In addition to all the other things that I just mentioned that we have to do. So it's part of what's so exciting about this project. I often said I loved my time at the Rocket, and we were building something special, and they're continuing to build something special because it's so new. But I kind of came in right after the club was launched, and so there was still a lot of work to do, but I wasn't there from the very, very beginning, not from day one. And I often said how it would have been fun to be there for that. So this is sort of a second kick at the can, so to speak, where I get to be there from before day one and lay the groundwork to get things ready for our inaugural season.
And getting the players, I guess, will that come, since it's going to be awarded franchise, will there be a draft for some of the players, or is it signing, or who you affiliate with?
Most contracts in the ECHL are all 1-year contracts, the ones that are specific to ECHL. So there's so it's really a free agency process for getting our players. Now the way it works in the ECHL is if you have an affiliation with an NHL club, which we will, then there's usually a number of players. The range can vary, but let's just say for argument's sake, half of your players, half your roster will be players that will be assigned to you from the parent club, from the NHL/AHL affiliates. And the other half are players that the club itself will go out and sign. So half, quote unquote, of the roster will come from the NHL affiliate once we conclude that deal. And the other half we will have to sign ourselves. And it's one of the things actually that we find very exciting about this project is, for the most part, and this is as the AHL, especially in the last 10 years or 20 years, has really rededicated itself to being a developmental league. As you know, there's a lot of limitations of number of veteran players you can have and whatnot. So your focus is always on the young guys and developing the next talent for the NHL. The same thing is true of the ECHL. And so a lot of the players that you're going to bring in are going to be guys that come out of junior that may have just flown under the radar, that didn't get drafted, maybe because they were a little too small. A guy like David Dernay comes to mind. Maybe they were injured in their draft year, or maybe they were just a late bloomer. There's a lot of these guys
late bloomers.
There's a lot of these guys, exactly, that kind of fly under the radar, and they end up having to go elsewhere to try to continue to develop. They go to ECHL teams elsewhere in North America or to Europe or wherever to try and continue to, climb the ladder, so to speak, and find their way into the NHL. And so for us, there's a very unique and exciting opportunity for us to go get all those guys that come out of the queue that we hear a lot about, that are stars in major junior here in Quebec, that flew under that radar, that we can grab them and try and develop them right here in our backyard, so they'd never have to leave the province. They can continue playing in front of their friends and fans, and hopefully that the next David Dernay, we'll be able to develop right here in Trois Rivieres.
And has the process, as you say, you've been working on it for months and you have 11 months to go, has the COVID process slowed things down, or is it something you just put in the back of your mind and say, this is what we're dealing with, we're going to do it and get the job done?
It's mostly just slowed things down with third parties that we're dealing with. Example, this announcement could have happened a few months ago because most of the things were already in place. But the ECHL, understandingly so, have spent the last several months very, very focused on just dealing with their current season and what they were going to do with their season. And as you know, some teams, especially the Canadian teams, they can't even cross the border because of COVID, had to press pause on their franchise for this year and wait for next year to roll around. And hopefully by then everything's back to normal. So they've been very busy with dealing with the here and now. So there's been a few things like that that have slowed things down. The construction of the building in Trois Rivieres would have been completed by now had it not been for some delays that were caused by the COVID. But other than that, for us, we don't have an event to sell tickets to for another 11 months. So we've got all that work I said we have to do are all things that it's planning and launching our product and launching our brand, which are things that really won't get slowed down by COVID. And we just need to, hope that everything gets resolved. I think with the good news we've heard in the last few weeks, or potential good news about vaccines and things like that, we don't have a crystal ball either. Nobody knows for sure, but I think the safe bet seems to be that, we should see some pretty big changes in our current situation by spring and especially by summer, so that, fingers crossed, everybody's ready to get back to some semblance of normal by next fall, so we can launch our inaugural season with all the excitement of being able to return to games and events with crowds.
And the beauty with Trois Rivieres, you have so many communities around you, Bécancour, Quebec, just city down the road, Drummond, all in that area, a built-in fan base of hockey-loving fans. So they should be excited about this.
Absolutely. I think, well, first of all, I think a lot of people, once this is over, are going to be kind of itching to get back to going to see live events and the excitement of being at a live sporting event or concert or whatever it may be. I know I can't wait. Mm-hmm. So we're hoping to be able to benefit from that sort of wave of renewed enthusiasm once it's safe to do so, to get out to events and crowds and live that excitement. So I think that's something that we hope to be able to sort of surf the wave, so to speak. But geographically, you're absolutely right, Mark. We're pretty much right in the middle of the province. The building is literally a stone's throw from the highway. It's 100 yards off the highway, off of Highway 55, where it crosses the 40 in Trois Rivieres. So you cannot drive through Trois Rivieres or do Montreal, Quebec without driving right by it. It couldn't be easier to get to. And the region between Shawinigan, Drummondville, Victoriaville, and all these other areas that are all within a half an hour to 45 minutes drive maximum. And even, the east end of Montreal, like Repentigny is barely 50 minutes away, and Quebec City itself. So I think there's going to be great opportunities for having people come in from different areas to watch the first level pro hockey and see these young players develop into NHL stars one day, we hope.
I'm sure you'll get some fans from Montreal and the West Island that'll want to check it out too, because I know the Aigle and baseball fans will make that trip. They'll do a road trip and go see. So why not see the new ECHL club? And for the fans to note too, ECHL, that is the name of the league. In the past, it used to be the East Coast Hockey League, but they go from the East Coast to the West Coast and points in between. It is the ECHL League. That's it. Point final.
Absolutely. I see, Mark, you know your stuff. I shouldn't be surprised one bit, but you're right. There's 3 teams down in Florida. There's teams out west, and so it's not fair to call it the East Coast League anymore. It's the ECHL.
Excellent. Well, listen, I want to thank you for joining me today for this. It's great news for the hockey fans out there right across the province to come and enjoy. We're going to keep updating because I'm curious to know the team colors, the logo, and the name and the eventuality. There's lots to report. My judgment calls on this one is there's good hockey coming to Trois Rivieres. It's going to be well run. It's going to be family friendly, and it's going to be something you want to check out in the future when it happens. So please, everybody, let's wait for that next fall, and let's go on a road trip to Trois Rivieres, see Mark and the team. Until next time.
I like it.
Yeah. Until next time, this is Mark Lidbetter for Judgment Calls. You know where to find me. sports@thesuburban.com if you have questions, if you have answers, if you have suggestions. And until next time, everybody stay safe and enjoy some hockey some way, even if it's a replay. Take care.